Integration Testing by An Hun. We will be talking about the sandwich testing. Today's outline is going to be the introduction, the sandwich testing definition, the advantage and disadvantage, steps in how to successfully perform sandwich testing, and its conclusion. Introduction. Integration testing bridges the gap between unit testing and system testing. Number two, the concept of integration testing is the individual modules are combined and tested as a group. And number three, sandwich testing is an incremental approach of integration testing because integration testing actually has three different type of approach. Again, it's not mentioned in this introduction, but again, this the scope of this particular topic is going to be sandwich testing. Sandwich testing, the definition. What is sandwich testing? Sandwich testing is a combination of bottom up and top down approach where it uses sub and drivers. Three main concepts. Number one, it is a view as three layer. The main target layer, that's the first layer. The second layer is going to be a layer above the target layer, which essentially is the middle layer. The third layer is going to be a layer below the target layer, the bottom layer or the third layer. Kind of like it's very similar to like the three level tier architecture design. Very similar. Number two, testing is mainly focused for the middle level target layer and is selected on the basic of the system characteristic and the structure of the code. Number three, sandwich integration testing can be adopted if the customer wants to work on a working version of the application as soon as possible, aim at producing a basic working system in the earliest stage of the development cycle. Advantage and disadvantage. Advantage. The first advantage. Sandwich approach is very useful for very large projects that have several sub-projects. When development follows a spiral model and the module itself is as large as a system, then one can use a sandwich testing. Number two, it needs more resource and a big team to perform both methods of testing at the same time. And by meaning of both methods is going to be bottom up and top down. The disadvantage, it is very costly. Secondly, it can't be used for a smaller system with a lot of interdependent between different modules, which makes perfect sense because again, we've been talking about this whole we've been talking about large projects, and then all of a sudden we're talking about smaller system. It just doesn't obviously it just doesn't work. It's one or the other typically. Okay, so before we actually talk about how to perform sandwich testing, we have to talk about how to perform integration testing. It's a very simple step to follow. Number one, understand the architecture of your application. Identify the module. Number two. Number three is understand what each module does. Number four, understand how the data interact with other modules. Number five, understand the input and output of the system. Number six, create the layer of the application for your testing needs. Number seven and number eight is basically talks about tests. Identify and create test condition and take one of the condition at a time and formulate a test case. So after performing integration testing, you can actually perform the very next part. You can actually go even deeper in terms of the different strategies of integration testing, and this is one of the strategies of Sandwich. And it's really three simple steps. Number one is to test the user interface in an isolation using stubs. Number two is test the very lowest level function using drivers. Number three, when the completed system is integrated, only the middle layer remains on which to perform the final set of tests, which makes perfect sense. Conclusion. Knowing the definition helps. Compare and contrast between the advantage and disadvantage. Learn the steps to perform integration tests. In addition, also learn the steps to perform sandwich testing. And then based on this four concept, you will basically what it's going to say is, understanding each bullet will help you get a better understanding of having a better rate of having actually understanding each bullet will help you to have a better rate of having a successful integration testing sandwich approach, because not knowing the basic concept of what integration testing does basically will not knowing the basic will lead you to failure, a lot of failure of testings. Thank you.